All right, guys. So welcome to today's session. This is a recorded part of the session. This is microeconomics, ECON 120. CRN is 25703. This is a class scheduled for Saturdays from 11 to 2 p.m. And I want to ask some basic questions, but let me find out first off. Has everybody, no, has anybody here not yet visited the e-classroom? From what I'm seeing online, it seems as if everybody has visited the e-classroom, including Ms. Gomez. All right. Okay. Secondly, has everybody here, no, who here has not yet joined the WhatsApp chat group for the class? Just put your hand up if you haven't yet, because I'm seeing we have 29 members on the chat group, but I know we have. All right, so Racha, you haven't joined yet. Why? What's up?
So I'll join now.
Okay, I was just gonna wonder. You have the link and everything there. All right, it's kind of
Yes, I have it
important.
in the email.
All right, cool. All right, because if you want, I could copy the link here for you if you want, so you could get it in the chat here. Actually, let me just put it here just for convenience for you guys. Where do I find that? Over here or somewhere. Um, Anybody else hasn't yet joined? Because at least we need to have at least two people who haven't joined yet. All right, so I put the link in the chat for anybody else who might be thinking. Now the reason why I'm saying that is that the the WhatsApp chat group is the fastest way for me to be able to communicate with you and also for you to communicate with me. And it's not meant to be a one-way thing. I want to make myself available for you, literally sort of like during working hours as much as possible now, and not only during class time. So if you have problems or questions, you can always post your question either privately or within the group to ask me any particular questions or get clarification of things and that type of stuff, because in essence this is a fully online course and we don't have synchronous teaching sessions, meaning I'm not going to call sessions specifically to go through content. And when we visit the e-classroom, you'll start to understand that. In essence, what I'm trying to say to you guys is you're working through the content of this class primarily on your own steam. Some elements of it will require some communication with each other as well as with myself, and we're going to try to maintain some degree of communication so that people would be able to we people will be able to lead on each other for assistance and for help, um, as well as with me. So the WhatsApp chat group is one of the important means of communication that you're going to be utilizing during the semester. Of course, all the content is on the e-classroom, so we want to look at that and see, um, you know, what that looks like, and we will go through everything from there. So let me share my screen. Let me know if you're seeing my um, my screen so far. Everybody's seeing that? Somebody just open your mic and let me
Yes,
know.
sir.
Yes,
All right.
sir, we see
Yes,
that.
sir.
All right. So let me go into the main course. Now, some of the
Yes,
aspects you're
sir.
seeing here, you may not be able to utilize because you don't have the level of access I do. But let me make this a tad bigger so it makes it easier for you. So generally, when you go to the e-classroom, you get this letter or this little voodoo essay here that I call, all right, discussing why we're doing what we're doing, and it kind of gives you some background into what we're doing, why we're doing it, and asking you to do certain things and, be patient and whatnot. Resources, there are textbooks here I need you to download and keep for your use for the class, as well as pointing you into the direction of doing research and whatnot. The group pair evaluation form, we'll discuss that later when we start to talk about the group work. So don't worry about this just yet. This document here is the last budget presentation made in last year. So it's there for information purposes. I put it in there because it's related to the program that we're doing. So that's something you want to pay attention to. The course outline, I hope all of you all have been who have come here have already downloaded one of these and you have it available, and we will be going through that in detail today. All right. This here is, of course, the link that is for this class, the MS Teams link. But generally, I also like to put it into the WhatsApp chat group so that just in case people are using their phone, they can easily join the class utilizing your phone. That way, it could be a little more convenient for you. So you can just follow along, especially if you have other things going on around you. This is the link here for the WhatsApp chat group that I spoke about before. So you can join me there and you can always contact me. Now, one of the elements of, or one of the issues that comes up with microeconomics is the challenge of citation. Because a lot of you all are now coming across from secondary school into tertiary level education, one of the most critical things about writing and preparing academic papers is the need for appropriate citation. So I've put a couple of links in here. This is the first one here, is the All Purdue Language Lab link. So if you click on that, it'll take you to a new page and take you to this. And we're utilizing something called the APA format for citation. All right. There are some videos here from YouTube about how to utilize, if you're using MS Word, there's a referencing system in there, and it allows you to set it up so that while you're doing work, you can actually create your own citations within it. Here's another video on styling your paper according to the APA format. So just some useful things. I can't teach you how to do it, but if you have not yet done citation, I will try to work with you on a case-by-case basis to help you understand the importance of what citation is and why it's so critical. So this section here is on class recording. So today, after the class is finished and the video is processed, I will upload the video for today's session here. So anybody who wants to come back and look at things to review things, or for those people who miss sessions, I will be loading the class recordings right here on the eClassroom page. All right. Okay. All right. So that then takes us into the first assignment, which is due the 1st of March. Now, when it says it's due, this is the closing date for the assignment. You can submit your assignment before. This is a forum discussion. It represents a contribution of 5% of your grades, your total grades or your final grade. And the forum discussion is set up as an online forum discussion where you will respond to these questions here, all right, and put it in the form of a small academic paper with appropriate formatting and citation, and then upload that file into the forum discussion. Once you've done that, you will also have to respond to somebody else, one of your colleagues from the class. I want you to critically evaluate at least one person's response that's already been put into the forum discussion. So to access the forum discussion, you click on this link here. And it takes you to the same thing here that we just had at the top here. It just reiterates the questions and the instructions and how you're supposed to do the citation and whatnot. Now, all assignments need to have a title page, page numbers. Depending upon the length, you'd need to put in a contents page, but for something like this, you don't need a contents page. You would need to separate and clearly delineate one question from the other by using some sort of number referencing system, which is basically question numbers that breaks up the information. You need to type your document up in utilizing a clear font times Roman times new times Roman numerals, well, not Roman numerals. Um, I like Arial, but nice clear font in a large enough font size that it's easy to read, double line spacing. That is primarily to make it easier for us as teachers and markers to be able to read your work and assess it appropriately. All right, so you're putting your questions in here, you're responding to them, you're putting a paper together. Your citation is made up of two parts. There's a part called in-text citation, and then there's a reference list. Now, you might be more familiar with just utilizing reference listing. The in-text might create some challenges, so I need you to go and pay attention to what is in-text citation and how do I utilize it and how is it related to the reference list. All right, so those are things in the APA format is probably one of the easiest formats that you could utilize, and that is the required format for the department. Okay, so once you've submitted your or done up your paper, you're going to come to the bottom here where it says add discussion topic. You click on that, and I don't want you to copy and paste, but what I want you to do is to click on advanced and upload the file into this second box here. Once you put the file, now you have to name the file according to the assignment. You put your name, the name of the assignment, and well, basically, so it'll be, let's say it's let's see somebody I remember. Let's say it's Colonel Hamilton. So Colonel Hamilton forum discussion. You save it with that name and you upload that file. Once it's uploaded, you click on post to forum, and once it's posted to the forum, you have 30 minutes to edit it if there's some errors. But don't panic, guys. This is, and I'll just let you know up front. The function of so once you post it to the forum, you have 30 minutes to edit in case there was a mistake that you really want to change. Don't panic about it. And then after you post it, of course, go and look at some of the other submissions made from your other students in the class, other colleagues, and do what we call a peer critique. Now, it's not just, you don't just write, yeah, I like how you answer and I agree with you. No, we don't want that kind of response. We want a critical response to the submissions made by your colleagues. And I need you to do at least one of your students, but you can do more if you want. All right, in reviewing other people's work. So far, so good. Everybody follows these instructions.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yep. Okay. All right. So let me take us back to this. Close that. All right. So you don't have to wait until the 1st of March, but you have until the 1st of March to make sure you make your postings and commenting on other people's work. Now, the problem with this is that you kind of have to wait for somebody else to put their stuff on. So if you're the first person to jump on, you might find yourself getting a lot of critiques from other students because you're early. But I don't want to discourage you from doing that. Now, the point of this forum discussion is these questions here are taken from assignment 1. And what I want to look at is your ability to create a small academic paper. And I'm going to be paying attention to the methodology that you're utilizing to pull your paper together, evaluate your citation methodologies, to be able to help explain to you what's going on and guide you in terms of what the expectations of the college and this course is for your academic papers. Because generally, the information that it's asking for is easy to come by. It is putting the information in a format that meets academic requirements that becomes the challenge for most students. And as I said before, in the past, in a lot of instances, you might be accustomed to, copy and paste from the internet to help um, respond to your questions, but there are some critical issues with that because we run into the concept of plagiarism. Everybody's familiar with that concept, plagiarism. Anybody never heard
Yes,
that
sir.
statement before? All right. So in terms of plagiarism, we want to pay attention to not creating a situation where you'll get accused of plagiarism because that is what we refer to as a critical or almost a capital punishment or capital crime in academia. All right. So what we want you to do is to as much as possible respond utilizing your own thoughts and ideas. However, as undergraduate students, you are required to support your answers with writing and quotations and information drawn from other sources of or reliable sources from from the various things, from textbooks, from other authors, from online and whatnot. Similarly here, for example, if you look at this first question, it says using graphical illustrations explain consumer surplus. Now, I don't need you to go and draw your own diagram and go into some art program and create a thing and label it out and all this kind of thing. You can go online into Google Images or whatever search engine you utilize and look for consumer surplus. You can select one that you feel you can work with to respond to the question, right? Because it's not just about putting up the diagram, it's also about using the diagram to explain, because the key phrase here is explain the concept of consumer surplus, all right, which is an economic phenomenon that you may not know about. And I want to see you come to grips with the concept, but also pay attention to how you go about presenting your response. Now, as I said before, finding the answers or finding the information is not the critical thing. For me, what is more important is how you go about showing me that you understand it, which is how do you go about preparing an academic paper so that you prove to me two things. One, you understand the material, and two, you understand how academia requires you to present the information to tell us that you have done sufficient research and you have supported your response with ver, well, certified information that I can test or check. And that's what part of the referencing is required. Referencing allows me to check your references to see, okay, you're using the appropriate information to support a correct response. And you see the same things for question 2, for example. Despite disadvantages of price ceilings and floors, why may governments still choose to implement these two forms of pricing strategies? Now, if you don't know anything about prices and floors, well, then you're going to be going into discovery of prices and floors and so on. Now, these questions are actually part and parcel of the full assignment, assignment 1, which instead of counting for 20%, is only going to count for 15%, because we split off 5% for you um, to do the forum discussion. So they're both related to each other, and that leads us to another issue that has to come up. So everybody kind of understands what the function of the forum discussion is. I don't
Yes.
think you all will. Yes, go
Yes.
ahead. Yeah. All right. I don't think you all will have problems finding solutions, but as I said, what I want to pay a lot of attention to, because in my past experiences, most students stumble in putting their papers together in the required format. And this is where working in groups or having little study groups in the class might be useful, because you all could help support each other in terms of understanding things. Because if I explain something in one way somebody else might be able to explain it in a different way that makes better sense to you. All right. So I don't want to say I'm the end all and be all of teachers and lecturers, but you know you within your own peer groups you might be able to explain between yourselves or among yourselves in a manner that everybody will understand. Okay. All right. So that's the first primary activity that is for marks. And as I said, it's related to assignment one, and we'll see that relationship when we go through the course outline and work from there. Now the second, so all of this here is recommendations, a rubric that shows you how we're going to go about marking this type of stuff and laying out your grades for it. All right, then we get to something called the assignment submission portals. Now, because we talked about citation, there is a tool on the system referred to as Turnitin. Now, the Turnitin portals or the Turnitin submission points here are designed for you to submit your document to an external tool that allows to check for similarity ratings between your work and work generally on the internet or available or outside in terms of citation or lack there or similarity. So the similarity rating is checking to see how much of the work that you've done is similar or too similar to work found at other sites around the place. So when you click on the portal, it takes a little while to load because, as I said, it's connecting and interfacing with another site's portals and whatnot, and you'll have to upload your document to that site, to the APA, to this site, and you're going to see it from my end here, but your end will look a little different. You'll have to upload it, and once you do the upload, it will do a comparison to the database. All right, don't worry about these things here, guys. All right, so when it goes in, as it says here, nobody has submitted anything yet, um, and that is normal because, of course, nobody's really submitted anything yet. It will give you a response rate that we want to pay attention to because the maximum similarity rate that was allowable is 15%. Anything beyond that, you have to correct it. You have to fix the similarity, which means you have to go in there and change the material and whatnot. There are some caveats to that, and when you all start doing this, then we'll deal with it. However, I want to warn you about one thing. Do not put the responses you write up for the forum discussion into this portal, for the simple reason that you notice there is no Turnitin submission point for the forum discussion. However, there is one for assignment one, and if the forum discussion is a subset of assignment one, then if you put the forum discussion in and then go back and put assignment one in, you're going to get a very high similarity rating because you can be accused of plagiarizing yourself, believe it or not. All right. So we want to avoid that peculiarity by not putting your forum discussion in. So I'm not requiring that your forum discussion be put through the Turnitin portal. But basically the idea is you utilize the Turnitin portal to get your similarity rating down to an acceptable level before you then upload your final draft of your assignment into the final draft portals here. All right, and you'd notice that all of the portals already indicate to you the deadlines for various assignments that you have to do. So you have the individual assignment one, which is what I spoke about, that is related to the forum discussion. That's why it's 15%. The journal assignment, we'll discuss that. The group project written assignment or element, that's 20%, and your group PowerPoint presentation thing, and you'd see deadline dates for the submission for all of these documents. And of course, you have a submission, a Turnitin submission point for them as well. So this is where you're trying to make sure that the similarity ratings all remain under 15% or 15% max. All right, so far so good. You all understand these portals, these submission portals and their
Yes,
uses?
sir.
Anybody has any question they want to ask about it so far? Yes, Faithful?
Yes, sir. So I just want to like clarify, right?
Hmm.
Since the individual assignment and the discussion form is technically same, we're gonna submit the individual first so we could get a lower percentage, is it?
No, the forum discussion is a subset of assignment one, but um, you can actually tackle the entire assignment one and just take out the answers to that question and put it in as your forum discussion. But the idea is I want a little subset to just check and see how you manage with academic papers. That makes sense, I hope.
Okay. Yes,
Right?
sir.
Just don't put your forum discussion in the Turnitin, all right? Because then we'll get some high similarity ratings, which will create lots of problems. Yes, Nicole.
So we can message you directly when we're ready for certain parts of these things, right? In terms
Of
of
course. Yeah, if you're having trouble, issues, that kind of thing, that's the reason why you have the WhatsApp chat group, because it's much faster than um, it's much faster than sending me an email, because I might see an email because you never know, like I might be on campus and I'm not near any PCs or anything like that, because that's kind of like in meetings and that kind of stuff, or I'm teaching another class. Once you put the question in, at some point in time you'd see me read it and I'll respond. And if it's something critical, you'd find I'll call you, or I'll message you and say, "Are you available for a phone call?" And I'll call you and talk to you directly about it. All right. As long as
thank you.
you're okay with me calling you all at night, and that kind of stuff, I will do so. But I'll message you first, to ask you, if you're available for a phone call. All right. I don't play with that. I'm here to help you all navigate your way through this course and understand the material, and that's my job. All right. Any other questions about what you're seeing so far on the e-classroom? All right. Let's continue then. All right. So these are the Turnitin, or the assignment submission portals, and that is basically the that's where you're gonna upload all your assignments and stuff. Then we get into the actual content, and the way in which it's laid out is very similar. Um, well, it has a particular, all the units are sort of laid out in a similar format. So for unit one, which is the introduction, there are some YouTube videos that you can look at. There are some readings. There are two presentations that 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 I have designed that goes through the content. One is an old recording of me going through that same presentation with narration, right? And there's one here which is with no narration, but you can read through the information and understand it. Once you go through the material, and these readings are from the textbooks that I've listed or provided for you in the student resources, so you're not going to buy textbooks. But of course, you can supplement the readings from these two textbooks with readings with textbooks or information online from other sources that you want to go about reading from or finding. Okay. Now, once you go through the material, the unit closes with a quiz. Now, all the quizzes are open already, and they will all close on the 17th of May. All right. So once you're ready and you feel you're ready to go to the quiz, the unit quiz kind of closes the quiz off. Now, I am a firm believer in developmental learning, so therefore your quizzes have multiple attempts, and the reason for multiple attempts is to give you an opportunity to go through the quiz, and if you don't do well in the first go around, pay attention to where you went wrong, and then take the opportunity to review the material in the areas that you were having trouble before you go back and tackle the quiz again. That makes sense. It sounds fair. Yes, I know you all want me to click on this, don't
Yes,
you?
sir.
You want me to click on a start
Yes,
attempt.
sir.
Anyway, let me start an attempt. So this is what your quiz is going to look like. Each question is going to be on one page at a time, and this is the quiz navigation here. All right. The questions are pulled from a bank of questions, um, about 20, 25 questions. So it means that I'm only asking you to do a quiz of 10 questions, and then at the end of all your attempts, I will take your highest score. All right. So each question you will come up on one page. So you're not gonna go scrolling around the place looking for all the questions. So once you decide what your answers are to the question, anybody want to try this one? Which of the following is a microeconomic issue? The price of gasoline increases in this the price of gasoline increases in this year. The economy experiences rapid economic growth. The unemployment rate soars. The government cuts taxes to combat a recession. Which one of these items here do you think is a microeconomic issue? Anybody? Nobody? One? Mohammed, you have one or A?
I will
Is
take a guess. Will it be C?
C? All right, let's check it.
Yeah.
All right. Uh, you could click on check and you realize, no, that's wrong.
Oh.
But unfortunately, you can't change the answer. The answer is actually A. All right. All right. No, I can change the answer because of my level in the thing. You won't be able to. All right. Now, why is that a macroeconomic? Why is that a microeconomic issue? Because it doesn't have anything to do with the macroeconomic economy. All right. When you go to the next page, all right, you have another question here asking you about that. Then next page, and each of the questions you get an opportunity. Now you realize there's a timer here, so it's letting you know I'm allowing 20 minutes for each quiz. More than enough time to go through 10 questions. And the idea, I mean, and you could also choose to hide the time. Yeah. All right. All right. You can hide it if you don't want to. So once you go through the quiz and you finish your response, all right, you and you get your result. So actually, let me do this properly so that you can. All right. I'm not gonna. Um, I'm not gonna. Question 7. I'm not gonna check the questions. Just gonna answer willy nilly. Um, all right. So once you get, all right, so not complete, return to attempt. Let me go to the ones that I didn't complete. All right, how do I do that here? Previous, and this is one of the things too. Your your speed, your internet speed can play havoc with your responses. Huh? Um, so you might want to make sure that your make sure that your speed is okay, or you're having a neat time frame. Now I'm not actually looking at the questions and just want to show you something at the end when I submit my responses. Finished attempt. Okay, good. All right, that's dumb. Okay, submit all and finish. All right, see that? gives you a warning. All right, so now what you get afterwards when you get, I got 4 out of 10. So that's 40%. It's a really poor grade. If I do something like that, I really want to go back and fix that. Okay, you get half. All right, and you all know the pass mark is 70%. So what it gives you is the ability to look back at the questions and see which questions you got wrong and which questions you got right. It then will indicate to you what aspects of the content you're having problems with. All right, and that then allows you to then review the material before you come back to make a next attempt. That makes sense?
Yes, sir.
So,
Yes,
so
sir.
don't just,
Yes, sir.
right? So don't just jump to the don't just jump to the and do the quiz a second time um, again because oh crap. All right, don't just go and jump and do the quiz over because there's a I see that happen a lot. People just do the quiz and then as soon as they get the results, they do it back one time. No, review your attempt. Look at where you're having problems, especially if you did something like rubbish, like what I just did there. You don't want that. The objective is for you to get as many 10 out of 10s as possible. Because at the end of the day, those quizzes count for 30% of your final grade. All right, and that's a hefty portion of your final grade that you don't wanna play with. Now, as I said before, the all the quizzes are open already. All right, they're open since the beginning of the semester, and they will close well after the end of classes. That is to give you the option to move as fast or as slow as you need to through each unit to complete the quizzes and work at your kind of like your own pace. So you have to pace yourself with it. So if you look at unit 2, key concepts on economic systems, you'd see the YouTube link for YouTube videos. There's some readings. There's my PowerPoint. Then the quiz. Not a lot of content here, but a lot of rich information that you will have available. All right. You notice I go from unit 2 to unit 5. That is just my preference. So unit 5, there's a PowerPoint here. There's a session I went through here that I recorded way back when we first started the pandemic of me going through this same PowerPoint. So you could choose either one and look at it. These are the readings for it for the unit. Then some additional YouTube videos from other people who might be a little more interesting, better prepared videos from producers of economic content, and it provides a lot of useful information. Plus, after you look at it, there are also some follow-up videos you may see coming up. You know how YouTube works; it suggests other things to look at. All right, but pay attention to the one I looked at, and then you could look at some of the other ones as well. All right. And then, of course, the unit closes with a quiz. Then I come back to unit 3, demand and supply, critical area or critical concept. So I have the same thing. There's a PowerPoint presentation plus a version of me going through the same PowerPoint. Readings related to the content. Then a host of videos and I like to use this guy, Clifford. I don't know if you're all familiar with him, anybody who's come across him. There's a whole host of um, all right. So he used to do another set of videos in the past. The only problem with him sometimes is he's very excitable and he's very fast. He speaks a lot very quickly. So some students have had some issues understanding him a bit. So it's almost like he's on crack while he's doing some of these things. But pay attention to it. But there's a crash course. I don't know if you're all familiar with um, that set of YouTube presentations called crash course videos. They do a whole set of content in history and psychology and all different subjects. He's actually one of the people from Crash Course. who went on to do his own line. But there are also crash course videos that I've included here as well. So again, a pile of videos here to explain various concepts in demand and supply and price controls and price controls versions. Then the quiz. So every unit is laid out in the same manner. Unit 4, elasticity. I started this time with the readings, my PowerPoint presentations plus videos on it. And then the quiz. Unit 6, theory form 1, readings, PowerPoint presentation, and then videos to support, then the quiz. Then Unit 7, theory form part 2. Well, theory form 2, part 1, because I split this into 2. Readings, which is market structures. So you have videos on all the different. Why is this one say hidden from students? Let's just make sure everything is visible. Right, we were in theory film part 2. So that's, don't know why that was closed off. All right, market structures. And this is important because this also relates to um, your group project. This comes in important. And then unit 7 quiz here, and that ends up with that. And then unit 7 part 2 theory film. This is in one area alone. It's an area that students have a fair amount of problems with, and for anybody who's done this before, the graphs related to profit and loss positions, output positions, cost minimization positions in theory of the firm is a little tricky. So I've done a PowerPoint on it. Didn't find much videos on it at all on YouTube. So I went through a long presentation here to explain it, and then there's a quiz. Now, so technically, there are 8 quizzes because there are 2 parts to Unit 7, and I'm going to choose your best 7 out of the 8, and that 7 out of the 8 will give you your final grade across the board. So, one of the quizzes I'm going to throw away your lowest score out of the 8 quizzes you do. All right, everybody understands this? Can it make sense to everybody?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Yes, sir.
All
Yes,
right,
sir.
good. Cool. All right. Anything looks tricky? Anybody here has actually been on the e-classroom and start poking around a little bit?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. What did you
Yes.
go poking around in?
Sir, I was watching the videos and stuff.
Oh, okay, good. So you started to interface some of the information. I see somebody's hand went up. Is it that you have a question, or you just wanted to join the to indicate that you were online as well? All right. So you can't break anything on the e-classroom, right? um, just don't go and start a quiz when you're not ready to do it. Okay, that's the only thing I'll warn you about. All right. Let's look at the now. Yes, Miss Mohammed.
Concerning the quizzes, can
Mhm.
we jump from how we did in unit 1, 2, then you went to 5 and come back to 3?
Mhm.
Do we have to follow it or we can do it on
No,
our
you can do it at
and you
whatever.
know
You can do it in whatever order you want, but the order I laid it out in is the order I think is the best way to develop. If you've never done economics before, unit 1, 2, and then 5, consumer behavior is utilized to determine demand and supply curves, which is why I've actually laid it out in that order. Um, that's just my
um
preference. Other people do unit 1, 2, then 3, 4, then come back to 5. I do it the other way. So it doesn't matter. You do it in whatever order you think you feel comfortable doing.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Because again, you are pacing yourself. You're kind of going through the material on your own. I am here to support you and try and fill the gaps and stuff like that. Now, you need to download this document here that we're going to go through. That's the course outline because it has all of the specific details necessary for the course, and in particular, it pays attention to the assignments that you're seeing on the e-classroom. They are duplicated here. So there are a number of things in here that we want to pay attention to. So you have some general information about the class, the CRN, the time frames that we allocate for it, and so on. It shows you the assessments here, 7 out of 8 quizzes. Um, you also have my contact information, which you already have. It's available for you. There are 2 email addresses. In the event that my main email address stops working, you have a secondary one to utilize. One that's very similar to your own, except mine has my name instead of. Now try and remember how to spell my name. I can't tell you how much people spell my name with a or how. Um, it's double S double O. It's Mr. Bisu. For those of you who don't know, all right. I speak here about my communication policies. Try and leave them on Sundays if possible. But I know when we get close to deadlines or things, yeah, you're panicking. Just let me go. Or I should let you know I'm not a PIG hog when it comes to people giving people a little leeway if they miss a deadline and stuff like that. So don't go panicking as a deadlines approach for different activities. Don't go panicking about it. Okay. All right. So here we go on to the course description. Some of this is in the letter that I wrote at the top of the classroom. This is a visual diagram that kind of lays out the structure of the microeconomics and the whole course itself. The rationale, what we hope to do, learning outcomes, specific and general learning outcomes for the program as well as for the course in particular, and how we relate to each other. All right. Where these learning outcomes sit in terms of the various domains of learning, cognitive, psychomotor, affective. So for those of you who have an idea that you want to teach in the future, this is useful stuff for you. But it sort of lays out everything in terms of where we are. So some of this may not make a lot of sense, and they're not critical for you at this point in time, but you could pay attention to it and read it on your own levels. These are the program learning outcomes and how economics writes into it or connects with the program. Course assessments and how the course assessments are testing the various learning outcomes that we've identified above. And you'd notice that the the individual assignments, all the assignments relate to specific learning outcomes across the board. And the group project in particular hits all of our learning requirements across the board. All right. All right, so teaching methods in terms of face-to-face activities, projects, presentations, PowerPoints, and online activities. So it's kind of listed. So this is the one thing that, you need to start by paying attention to. This is the section on the course calendar. This lays out your planner action for the semester. So today is the 31st. So this is our first session, and we're not going to be doing anything content related. What we're doing is we're doing prep work for everything, because there are a couple of things we need to do as well before we end up this evening or this afternoon. All right. So how this works is that each week I'm saying to you, by this week you should be working on or finish with this session. Now you'd notice that I am not calling classes every week, but I will call upon you all various weeks for the semester. I have, kind of anticipate, okay, I'll meet you all on the 21st of February, that's after Carnival. Then I'll meet you all again on the 14th of March. And then I'll call a session on the 28th of March. The 29th of March, you have a deadline of the individual assignment. That should be in there. So that's why I want to check in with you all on the 28th, see how you're going and getting there. Then the 4th and 11th of April, you should be dealing with, by April, you should be dealing with Unit 7. So the idea is that the, 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 the course calendar kind of guides you of where you need to be at any point in the semester. All right. So the yellow highlighted areas are assignment due dates. Kind of made that kind of pattern in the activities. So you'd see the first due activity is March the 1st, which is the forum discussion. All right, and that is related to um, assignment 1, individual assignment 1, 15% by the end of March. So by the end of March, you should be finished with the 2 elements that are due in terms of assignments. As I said before, if you miss the 29th of March, don't panic. I'm not going to kill you if you miss it, but I'm saying by then you should knock it off. All right, because along the way you also have to blend in, work on the other assignments and the other content that you're dealing with, because you can't answer these assignments without treating with the material in the course itself. All right. All right, so you notice there's a Unit 8 that is not listed on the e-classroom, and that's because the content from the Unit 8 is covered in the first assignment that you're going to be doing. So it's a self-directed unit. As it says, a self-directed unit evaluated via the individual assignment. Now, on the 18th of April, we have a mandatory session where we do an online review of your readiness for the following week, which is the 25th of April, because on the 25th of April, that's the last teaching week of the semester, you are going to be presenting your group presentations or your group projects at that point in time. All right, so that is an important date, because on that day you're being assessed and for your group presentation. All right, then following that week is the end of classes. Yes, Jada, go ahead, ask your question.
So regarding the group assignment, right? Will we be placed in groups from today,
Today,
or is it
today,
for next
today.
class?
No, today we're going to be assigning groups one time. All right, because I need you all to get started with that one time. All right, okay, so the 25th of April is the last teaching week. As I said, you're going to be presenting your group presentation, your group work, and we'll look at the full details of that in a little bit. I have set up the submission dates for some of the other assignments after classes end. So in that week of the 25th of April, bring up my calendar here. I know it's not big, but maybe you can see it here. In that week of April, the 25th of April, that's that Saturday, you'll have exams the following week, and I've set up, well, for those of you who might have final exams, things like accounting and stuff like that will have some final exams, where you may actually need to go into the college and do it. I'm not sure how they designed it. The 10th of May, which is the following month, is when you would submit the deadline for submission of your journal assignment. Now, because I put the 10th of May, it doesn't mean you have to wait until the 10th of May and then put it up. You could put it up before, especially if you get it done. The 17th of May, we already identified all the quizzes will close. And the 17th of May is also where you need to submit the final date for submitting your group project. That's the written project, as well as the PowerPoint that you would utilize for your group presentation. So if you get them done earlier, of course, you can submit them, but you have by that time. Now, why I'm extending these dates past the teaching time is to give you all some additional time to spread out your assignments, because I know a lot of assignments get shoved into the end of the semester, so it gets very crowded. And what I want to do to you is to extend to you some time for uploading your assignments while I'm dealing with marking other stuff. You all will have this time, but you need to make sure you make that 17th of May. Why? Because the 17th of May is your deadline to submit your assignments, but the 24th of May is my deadline to submit your grades online. If I don't do that, I get actually into penalties. It affects my performance appraisals and stuff. So I want to extend to you all some time to, kind of spread your work out for the entire semester beyond the actual teaching time of class, to give you all a little more, a little more breathing room, so it's less stressful. And I'm hoping I'll get better quality work. But what I want you all to do is to not suffer from that big problem that we all suffer from. What is that problem? Anybody knows what I'm talking about? What is that problem we tend to suffer from?
Procrastination.
Procrastination. Please do not wait until the last minute to try to do your assignments, because that would lead to very poor results. All right? So you ought not to be, you know, skating in the last minute. Now, some people might have that not because of procrastinating, but other things happen in life. And I know, and I want to say I am very aware of that, because we've had such weird things happen in the past. Um, and you never know what life is going to throw you. So I'm not going to be, as I said, a PIG hog about it. Um, I'll be as understanding as I can possibly be, and I'll cut you as much slack as I can. All right, but there are definite dates that I have to shut down, or else I'll get into trouble myself, and my troubles are a little more critical for me than for you. All right, so by the 17th of May, get those things in, please, and that helps. Hopefully it helps you to kind of spread your workload a little bit. The course calendar actually helps you to plan what you're doing, and if you can submit your assignments well before the deadlines, that's all the better for you. All right, again, you're kind of on your own, with the exception of the group project or the group paper. That is something you have to work with your other folks in class, and we'll have a discussion about that closer to the end as we start to put groups together, because group work is where a lot of people stumble, because working in groups is a challenge. How many of you have done FYEC 100? Just show of hands. 1, 2, 3. How many of you all doing it this semester? A couple of you all? All right. In FYC 100, you're going to come across a unit in there related specifically to group work and group management, team building, and that kind of stuff. So I want you to apply what you understand there from FYEC 100. And for anybody who's done leadership and ethics with me, we did a whole set of work on group dynamics and group work and stuff like that in a lot more detail than it's tackled with in terms of thing. Bring to bear your skills in working within groups. I know it's challenging. I know people don't like it, but unfortunately, the program is going to kind of duplicate what happens when you actually go out to work. When you go out to work, you have to work with other folks. You're not working by yourself. You have to work with other people. So it's critical that you learn how to manage group conflict and group work, and manage any sort of issues that come up within your group activities. Now, I will take a hands-on approach with that, and we'll deal with that in more details in a little bit. All right. So everybody understands this course calendar. Maybe you don't have to print it in color. Feel free to download it and probably just print this part of it, so it helps you to kind of stay on track with what you're doing. Because I know some people like their like the tactile approach to things. So yes, you can print it if you want, or you could just print this last page here with the summary of all your assignments, um, that type of stuff. All right, so that then takes us into the textbooks that we're utilizing. The grade point system and grades, where grade sits. Now for us, you need to make sure you get a C or better grade in this course, because this is a prerequisite for other courses, for macroeconomics, as well as some of your ENTP courses are related to this as well. So don't mess around with this course, all right? And you need to perform well in all aspects of the course to make sure you pass. So you can't just, especially the quizzes, don't muck around with your quizzes at all. All right, so let's go into the assignments. These appendices here detail all of the assignments instructions. So we start with the forum discussion. As I said, it's a 5% assessment. Might sound like a little bit, but that's the difference between an A and a B. All right. Um, so you see the due date here, the instructions in terms of what you're doing, and these are the questions here that we discussed already. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time here. You all should be fairly familiar. So you do your paper, pull together a response utilizing proper academic paper approaches or techniques, cite your work, and then save the file utilizing the naming protocol of your name, the name of the assignment. You could add the name of the course into it or the course code, your name, the course code, and the name of the assignment, and upload that to the forum discussion, and then make sure you comment on somebody else's, critically evaluate somebody else's contribution to the forum discussion. Remember, do not put this into the Turnitin portal because it can create some problems for us. All right. These are the same rubrics that you have on the thing. Now, this is the actual assignment. Appendix 2 is the individual assignment which we're sharing the activities for. So about a month later, or just about the end of the month, you'd see all the very specific instructions here of how to put the paper together and all this instructions here. They all come from this website here. There's a link that's active in the document that you can utilize to go to it. You also have some other links here about citation and referencing. So it's a soft copy. So what I'd recommend you do though is when you're saving your file, of course you could save it in a Word format, but when you're uploading it, maybe you could use a PDF format because that way I don't interfere with the material. So when you do it PDF, I can't go editing anything by an error or anything like that. You see the naming protocol here again that I talked about. For those of you who may not have access to MS Word, there is a open source. Everybody here has access to MS Word, right? Anybody here is not using MS Word? Just put up your hand if you're not using MS Word. There's an alternative. There's an alternative software you can use if you don't have it. Somebody's hand was just up. It's called Office Libre or LibreOffice. For any of you all who are interested in this, you can always message me about it. But that's open source. And it allows you the ability to save as Word, save as PDF, same as what it works at. So if we look at the questions, you'd see that the questions for assignment 1 is where you got a couple of questions from these longer questions here, or this longer assignment, as a sample or a subset, as I utilized before, of the forum discussion. So the responses that you wrote up for the forum discussion, I expect to see them come back in this assignment, all right, as part of this assignment that you're going to submit into the Turnitin, and then from there you'll have to look at your similarity ratings and get it corrected. So you'd see the first section here on demand, supply, price ceilings, and floors. That's related to units 1, 2, and 5, and 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So the first 5 units is related here. All right. So this is demand, supply, price ceilings, price floors. All of that stuff comes from that unit there. Economies and diseconomies of scale. This comes from unit 6. This is theory of production, and a whole set of questions there that come out from that. Distribution of income. This is all the stuff that you need to be doing for unit 8 that was included here as self-directed unit, factors of production, derived demand, and you notice there's a question from the derived income distribution in the forum discussion. So you're kind of going across the board in terms of a lot of units that are assessed in this first assignment. So you can see the connection between two. So once you put your responses together for this, and you format your paper with This one you'll need a title page plus a contents page. You would need to have proper pagination or separation of the work following the questions. The way it is, so it'll be section 1 is demand supply, so that you have 5 questions there. Section 2 is economies and diseconomies, there are 3 questions there. Section 3 is distribution of income, and you have 3 more questions there with some sub questions, sub type things. So make sure you use a good referencing system. Pay attention to the amount of marks allocated to the question so you'd understand. Some questions require a little more, more discussion than others because it's asking you for a lot more. All right, so pay attention to the layout of the marks and the spreading marks because it kind of indicates the depth of response that is required. Okay, where possible, utilize diagrams to assist in your discussion. So in economies and diseconomies of scale, the use of diagrams there is good. One here asks you to use the consumer surplus question, asks you to use diagrams, but you could also use diagrams when you're discussing ceilings and floors, because ceilings and floors are easy to demonstrate by looking at through the use of diagrams. But you can't just use the diagram alone. You have to add your own discussion and add your explanations and provide examples. Provide examples of things, especially if you can find the examples from the local economy. All right. So far, so good. This is the layout of marks and how it's going to be the marking scheme. And this here is the marking rubrics of how we're going to be assessing and laying and awarding marks accordingly. All right, everybody understands everything so far? With assignment 1
Yes,
and the
sir.
forum discussion. All right. Remember the deadline for that is the 29th of March. Yes, 29th of March. All right. Assignment 2. This is an articles journal. And in this assignment, you are going to find an article no older than 6 months, either local, regional, international, that you think has in it some related microeconomic concept that you're going to review. Now, in order to assist you with this, what I need you to do is to send the article to me first. Let me vet it before you start doing the assignment. So this is a part of taking content and asking you to apply it to the real world around us. So it means you have to pay attention to things in the newspapers, online, in different forum discussions and whatnot, and find something of an academic or something that is, not opinion based too much, but something that is happening either in the international environment, the regional, or our local environment that has some sort of microeconomic um, link to it. Because again, you're putting this together as an academic paper, so it's not just you find an article and just write up an expose on it. No, it has to be done in the context of an academic paper. So again, you'll see citation requirements, layout requirements, all those things. Plus, you have to put it through the Turnitin for the similarity scores. So the questions here guide your discussion. Now remember, the deadline for this is the 10th of May, which is outside, so you have some time to do this. What I like to do, and this is something that you'd find happening, I might find some articles when I do my readings and stuff, and I will upload them, or I'll upload copies of them or links to them in the WhatsApp chat group, and I'll share it with not just you guys. I have other classes that I share articles with and say this is interesting, it's a possibility to utilize. Now, you don't have to find an article that you alone hiding and doing by yourself. No, we can all work on articles together, or because everybody's response and answers will likely be different. Notice the questions are asking you to link one specific economic concept to the article that you find. Now, most times it's going to be a host of different articles or concepts, but I want you to be able to focus. I'll make a link between one of the concepts from microeconomics, not macro, microeconomics, into the article that you've selected. Demand, supply, elasticity, theory of the firm, scarcity, whatever concept you make the link with will indicate to me that one, you understand the concept, two, you have the ability to connect that concept with the real world, because economics is not theoretical. It tries to explain human behavior. Okay, so that's kind of important for you to pay attention to that, and that's the function of what this assignment is to actually make you link the concepts that you're dealing with in the class to the real world around us. All right. Please ensure that I approve the article you use before you do the assignment, because next you find something you think it is, just check in with me and make sure. I might ask you some questions. You could do it privately or you could do it within the WhatsApp chat group as well. All right. Again, this is the layout of marking or the marking scheme, and this is the rubric for how the marking takes place. All right. Any questions on this one? You all understand it means you all have to do some readings beyond the actual class itself. Yes, any questions? Concerns? Everybody's okay? All right, let's move on. The next section here has to do with quizzes, and I think I've spoken about this. All the quizzes are open. I'm going to take your best 7 scores. You have at least 2 attempts. In fact, in some cases, you have more than 3. All right, depending if I find the section is a little tricky, I'll give you more than 2, 3, maybe even 4. You'd see it come up when you click on the link to do the quiz. You'll see how much time you have, how much attempts you have. All right. Reopening quizzes is very tricky. So the only way I'm reopening quizzes after the 17th is it has to be for something really, really critical. Like the world went internet dead for a month or something like that. I don't know. I mean, but if you're having some issues, you can always call me. So all of the quizzes are open already. They will stay open until the 17th. As I said, you have multiple attempts. Yeah, the idea is for you to get the best out of the attempts, get the most marks as possible, and then that way you can ensure that you get 30% for your quizzes across the board. Questions about that? I think we've talked about it. So let's look at the group project now. The group project is split into two elements. One, the written paper, two, the presentation. The written project is valued at 20% of your final grade. The oral presentation is set at 20%, 10%. So collectively, they represent 30%. Again, a big chunk of marks here. So I'm going to subdivide you guys into groups of 5, and then you are going to have to choose or select a country that you would like to do what we call microeconomic analysis of, and then you're going to compile your research and your answers into a report that you will write a paper about, and this will include an introduction to the country, and in the paper and in the presentation, you're free to utilize short video clips, PowerPoint, not PowerPoint, pictures and images of various elements of the country that you want to respond with or to show us as part of your presentation. Again, the paper is required to meet academic standards. So that means having a particular form in terms of how the paper is pulled together, how your citation is done. Again, really important for you to pay attention to those things. There is a sort of limitation of at least no more than 500 words per question, but that kind of, it has to go, some questions will get 500 words, some will get more, and some will get less. So the average is, based upon the number of questions, we're looking at an absolute total of maybe 3,000 to 4,000 words for the entire assignment. All right, that's the written paper. Now, of course, you're not going to be tackling this individually. You're going to be tackling this as a group. So as a result, these are the questions that guide it. You have question 1 about economic systems, question 2, which is related to the economic system. Now, the answers that you give cannot be answers drawn from the textbooks, because the type of economic system that a country has, what are the is might be relatively easy to find out, because basically all countries utilize some form of a mixed economy where there's a combination of government management and government control, and some level of private sector activities, unless of course it's not even China does it that way anymore. Maybe South Korea, not South Korea, North Korea has a very dictatorial type of thing. So they run a sort of dictatorship there. So they have a very planned economy. Can't do anything there with private sector stuff at all. So um, most countries have some form of a mixed economy. It's just a matter of how much control the government has. All right, and what are three benefits and three drawbacks of the system? The drawbacks and benefits can't be specifically out of a textbook. They have to be specific to the country that you're researching. All right, so you need to do your research so that you apply the theory that you're finding in your textbooks and in the theory into the real world and draw the examples from the real world. All right. Second question, discuss how the economic system allocates resources in the country. So you want to look at specific examples that are working within the country itself in terms of how it impacts upon demand decisions. You have to give two examples of the impact on demand decisions and two examples of how that economic system impacts upon supply decisions for firms. All right. Dominant types of firms in the market, or firms in the country or the economy, and provide two examples per type identified. So here we're talking about what are the most popular forms that firms take in that particular country. Now, one of the ways to do this is to look at the country from different aspects of the various sectors that make it up. So that's something you're going to have to start to understand. When we look at a country, like if we look at Trinidad and Tobago, we have the government sector and we have the private sector. That's one very broad distinction. And when we start to look at the production of the country, we have the oil and gas sector, we have the manufacturing sector, we have light heavy chemical industries, we have agricultural sector, what's happening there, we have the retail sector, what's happening there, and the type of firms that are dominant in those sectors kind of gives you the idea of what firm structures are more popular. In Trinidad and Tobago, the most popular form of firms is in the majority of sectors is actually companies, private companies. All right. Some are much larger and therefore they are publicly traded companies. So you might get that as well. But that is the most dominant type of. But you have to give examples of to indicate that that's the case, right? So you might get more than one type of dominant structure, but it may vary based upon, like in the agricultural sector, you might find sole traders might be the more dominant approach, or family-oriented businesses, the more dominant type of firm that exists there. Now, related to question 3 is question 4 on types of market structures. Now, when we talk about market structures, is how is the market arranged? Is it a monopoly? Is there only one provider of this good or service? Is it a duopoly? Is there only two? Like we have a duopoly here in terms of the cellular or mobile services in Trinidad and Tobago. Is it a monopoly? We have a monopoly here in terms of the only supplier of electrical services or electricity is TNTech, but as a government-run monopoly. Same thing with water. WASA is the main and only provider of water in the country, and that's a government-run monopoly. In the banking sector, it's called an oligopoly. And you're going to come across these weird words that's going to twist your mouth all how. Learn to pronounce the words when you're doing your presentation. It's an oligopoly or oligopolistic market structure. Learn the pronunciation. And then we have probably the most popular one that comes across in most countries, monopolistic. Many small little firms existing in a market with a lot of consumers. There's also a type of market structure called a monopsony, I'll wait for you all to go through that and try to understand it. Those are the things. You need to give examples of these things. Again, if you divide the economy into different sectors, you start to realize that the dominant market structure is different for different types of markets. All right. The banking sector is actually an oligopoly. There's only a few banks that exist in Trinidad and Tobago and operate in our market structure. Now, once we've identified that, you have to correlate question 5 now to that response by looking at what is the impact that that market structure has on output, prices, and profitability of firms operating in that market. All right, providing examples specific to the country. All right, that's something that you have to pay attention to. And then, of course, question 6 is not quite closely related, but it has to do with an overall impact in terms of looking at the. In 2020, we had the pandemic hit the world, and therefore we're still interested in looking at positive and negative impacts of the coronavirus or the pandemic on either households or firms, or a combination of households and firms in the country. In fact, this one here, you have to look at both households and firms and look at 2 positive, 2 negatives. Again, it has to be specific to the country. You realize this paragraph here talks about the introduction. So in the introduction to the country involves the demographics, location, size, food, culture, language, population, type of government system, current leadership, interesting things, and interesting places about the country. This is where you could get all the graphics and photos and that type of stuff, especially if you have a very interesting place that you're going to be looking at. 2 guidelines for choosing countries would be, 1, some place you want to learn more about, or you're interested in learning about. 2, countries that have relatively easy access to information, because we can't travel to the country to get the information. You actually have to try and get this information online through your research. So this is going to bring into practice research skills. How many people have done LIBS already? LIBS 130. Good few of you all. Good, good, good. That's nice. Because LIBS 130 is research methods, and that research methods will find itself playing a really important role in this thing. So these are the questions, and of course you have to do an introduction, which, as I said, spoke about that, and of course at the end you have to do a conclusion. This is the marking scheme for the written project. This is the rubric for the written project. All right. And then you have to do a 25-minute presentation, 20 to 25-minute presentation of your findings in an oral presentation, and that's on the 25th of April. All right. And this is the rubric that I'm going to utilize for that. Now, you'd see this group pair evaluation. I would prefer not to have to use group pair evaluation, so therefore we'll have a discussion about this now. Group pair evaluations or pair evaluations are a punitive measure utilized to punish groups where individuals are not working well with each other. And I say it's punitive because it's actually, I don't like using it, and therefore it's not a requirement for everybody to submit pair evaluation forms. I will ask a group to do it if needed. All right. What I prefer to have happen is that if any group is having challenges, for you to reach out to me and contact me, let me meet with the group and have a discussion with the group to try and manage their challenges. All right. I expect that there would be problems, but if the problems get to the point where it is becoming insurmountable, do not wait until the last minute to bring up the issues with me. Let me get involved earlier o'clock and help you all work your way through the problems, because conflict is a normal thing. All right. We're not always going to agree with everybody else, but we have to work with each other in terms of getting things done. All right. Somebody is coming in. Admit. Yes, Gabrielle, I see your hand up. Gabrielle, Ms.
Sorry,
Buckley.
sir, that was a mistake.
Oh, okay. Thought you wanted a question. All right, but as your microphone's open, any questions about this and what we're talking about? Everybody's okay with this so far?
I see, sir.
Yes.
I have a question.
Go ahead, ask.
For the group presentation, right? We're just reading off of
No,
what
no,
we
you're not
wrote, right?
reading. You're not reading. No, you're not reading. You are presenting. There's a difference between um, reading and presenting. You're not reading the screen. All right. You're presenting information that you've learned about via your research to the class. You're teaching us about the country that you've gone and done some research about. So it's not about I don't expect you to be putting up all the information on a slide and reading everything to us. That I could do that. All right. You put up caption points of the information that you found and you present to us your findings of the
Okay,
research
sir.
that you've conducted. Okay? All right, Jada, see your hand up.
So
What's up?
regarding the presentation, right?
Mm-hmm.
Can we do like a pre-recorded sort
No,
of presentation, or everything has to be on the
everything
spot?
is done live. Everything's
Right.
done live on that day. I will be recording it. The only time I'll allow pre-recorded sections, it can't be the entire thing, would be if somebody has work-related issues that prevents them from attending the session. And that's why if I asked at the beginning of the class, who's working, who's not, who's full-time, who's part-time. Because I don't want to get this Nancy stories, because I know what people like to do is because they don't like presentations, because they feel challenged by presentations, they want to duck it. The opportunity you have here is in a controlled environment to deal with that issue that you might be having, because you have to learn to present to other people and be outgoing and speak to people. So the option here is to provide an opportunity for you guys to present, to use the group presentations as a learning opportunity across the board. All right, so it's important that you pay attention to dealing with those things. All right, any other questions on group projects, group presentations? No, no, yes, maybe. All right, so from what I was showing you, that was the last element that we talked about. The group peer evaluation, as I said, is punitive in nature, because if things go wrong and I ask you to do the peer evaluation, it means you have to evaluate everybody in your group, besides yourself, of course, in 25 questions in a score of 0 to 4. 0 for they did not one thing, to 4, yes, they worked fantastic. So you'll end up with a score out of 100%, which then has to be added to the other 4 scores that you got from other people, and then the average will determine what share of the final grade you end up with, and that is for both the presentation as well as the paper. So consider, for example, a group did excellent work, they had 100%, but because of disagreements within the group, um, they they had and the inability to find solutions and resolution, they ended up having to do peer evaluations. What you find happening is the if you got the paper is worth 100%, but because your peer evaluation score is 60%, that's as much as you can get. You could only get 60 out of 100, which means you got a D. So that's why I say I don't like to use peer evaluation. It will be used if it's necessary. Unfortunately, it's punitive in nature. It's designed to try and discourage people from doing rubbish. You have to work in a group. Don't wait until the last minute, please. Get cracking with your work. All right, and we're gonna start that now. Let me just move this back here to the summary page here, because this is important. Remember, our group activities, the presentation is the 23rd of April. The final paper is due on the 17th of May. So you don't have a lot of time. You have to get cracking on this early o'clock. All right, with that in mind, let's start to put our teams together. So the first thing we're looking at here, let me make this a little smaller, is, all right, so I have some groups here from before, because I'm using a similar shell. You delete these things here. Yes, I want to delete that. All right, so I'm going to use an automated auto group create. Um, let's call this number instead. I want to auto create groups. I think it's 5 per group. We have 30 people in class, so we're going to end up with yes, I'll enable group messaging. Alright, randomly allocated. Alright, so let's submit that. Alright, so we have 6 groups being created from group 1 to groups 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What? Okay, I see what I did. Let's I have to do that again. I made an error in the setup. Auto create number of groups, members per group is 5. That's the mistake I made. Yes. All right. So right, thought as much. We'll end up with 6 groups. Okay, so we need to get some list of that. Right, so unfortunately this does not copy. So group A is made up of expertise, G, Pavel, oops, correct that, A, Fortune, button, alright, A, Fortune, M, Ramkisoon, and D, Sichuan, right, group B. Okay, Christopher. Chinese little E, Elijah Morris, Faithful Mitchell, Riyad Mohammed, group C, it'll be on the system, but I want you all to, because I know it might create a bit of a challenge. Dan Raj, D-H-E-N-R-A-G. Dan Raj, Faith. Alright, so Faith Gomez is the only person who has not attended classes today, so we'll have to pay attention to her. I'm not even sure she's in the WhatsApp chat group yet. We'll have to follow up on a saying. And the T for Stephen. This will be D. D is G Ferrera. Mohammed. This might be a bit boring, guys, but it's just part of the things to be done. Group E. So I think what you all need to be doing is setting up some subgroupings. And this is why I want to take a note of this, and I'll post the groups into the WhatsApp chat so that you all start getting together. All right, so that you'll have some decisions to make before next week. Because we need to get some feedback from you guys. Sultan. I'll give you some more coherent instructions in a little bit as soon as I get this sorted out here. Last group now. Group F is made up of Gabriel Bartholomew, Bartholomeu. Oh man, okay, cool. All right, so let's Millie left. This is Saturday's class. All right. So what I'll suggest to you guys is I've posted the groupings into the WhatsApp chat group so you all can find it fairly easily. You'll see your grouping when you it should come up on your profile when you get to the class. You'll know what group you're a member of, and at least I would know what who the members of the group are. Okay. All right. So, a couple of things I would say to you would be to start to. All right. So you need to get together sometime soon, and select a country that you would like to conduct research about. You'll need to come to, well, by I would say by next week or so, or the week after for the latest. Come up with about 2 to 3 countries that you'd like to utilize, because we want to prevent duplication by other groups in this class in terms of checking for groups. The 2 things I could tell you is go online and try and find out how easy it will be for you to get information. And I would recommend you stay away from countries that are currently involved in any kind of war activities or any kind of major strife going on, because it makes it more difficult for accurate information to become available. So that's what you want to be paying attention to in terms of getting that. If people are unhappy with the group that they're in, you'll have to find somebody to trade out, but that trading can only take place in this first couple of weeks. All right. I use the random format for setting up groups. I hope everybody's okay with that. Anybody has any problems with the way in which the group is set up that they would like to bring up now? They would prefer to have been with somebody else, yada, yada, yada. You don't really know each other that well, so unfortunately you'll have to work with each other a little bit. All right. Any questions about what we've done so far? As I said, by next week or week after, I want to get some responses from the groups as to what countries you all are going to hone in your research on. All right. I would suggest that you all set up some sub WhatsApp groupings so that you all could get your little country groups in together with each other. So for now, you could call yourself group A, B, C, D, or whatever. But at some point in time, you all could change your groupings to the name of the country, which is what I will do on the system. I'll update the country, your group name to the country that you're presenting or choosing to present. Any questions with that? Anybody has any concerns about the group activities? We good with it so far? Yes, maybe, no. You know,
Yes, sir.
That's it.
feedback will be an important thing. All right. So, other than that, anybody has any other questions or concerns that comes to mind in terms of what took place this evening? Today, I should say. Let's see. We went from morning to evening because it's after 1 now. I wanna close off in a little bit. All right. Any questions, Martha? Hang your mic on.
Oh, no, sir. Sorry.
No. All right. Well, as I said before, I'm not going to be calling sessions every week, but I will reach out and communicate with you all. If anybody wants to meet, you know, your primary time to meet with me is during the class. I have a couple of office hours. I haven't posted my hours yet. They'll probably come up online. But for you guys, once you're in my class, you can reach out to me, and I'll try to reach out to you as soon as time becomes available. All right, to deal with any issues or problems that you might be having, or just to go through some content that you're not quite understanding. That's not a problem. I'll be able to do that with you. All right. All right. So that being said, I want to thank you guys for choosing this class and registering with me. I know you didn't probably have too much of a choice because these are more required courses for you to do. Yes, Latifa.
Hi, so one question.
Mhm.
We know via WhatsApp or email or the classroom when we're having class.
Generally, I'd have a discussion with it on the WhatsApp chat group. That's the fastest way. I'd
Okay.
send it out to you. That's why
All right.
I always prefer to use the WhatsApp because it's the fastest way that you can get messages, and it doesn't require you logging in and checking your email and that kind of stuff.
All right.
Uh, but there are I would if there are people who are not getting the WhatsApps, which is very few. There's one person, as I said, that I'm not seeing here, and that is the person who's absent today. I want to pay attention to that. That's Miss Gomez. I want to reach out to her, make sure everything's okay. Um, because if she doesn't turn up in class, that could affect the group that she's assigned to. They would end up with one person less. So we do have ad drops still going on. So there are issues of people adjusting their timetables. So we'll see how it goes. So we may have some changes, and that some people may leave and some people may come back in. So we may get some new people coming in, depending about how things go. All right. So if there are no more questions, I'm going to stop the recording.